And we are live. We're back,
Hey,
motherfuckers.
hey, welcome back to
We
the
are
March
so
Madness.
back.
Yeah.
I haven't between racing, basketball, like when we did the
hmm
I haven't done a show in so long.
hmm
Like ever since I started working like swing shifts at work, it makes it so
hmm
hard to do shit
hmm
like this. So happy to be back in it. First off, excited to talk some ball. I've been wanting to for a while, and I know like we floated it in our little group chat like a few times, like, hey, we should bring the college basketball show back. And um yeah, I was like, we were talking last night, and we're like, hey, let's fucking do it. Matt Mayer, I got to text him. He may or may not be joining. He was out and about today, so he might try to slide on. In fact, let me send him a text real quick just to make sure, and I'll go while I'm off camera. I'll go ahead and retweet this and stuff too. But um, yeah, I guess sorry to wake you up from your slumber to do this, but I'm glad you did because I was definitely looking forward to doing this.
Yeah, it's been interesting few months of college basketball. We're just starting to get into the swing of things and the college basketball schedule. I've been recording the State of the Buccaneers podcast. I try to keep up to date with that, so I know you. I know how it is to keep up with doing just keep making content. But I'm excited to get on a show, discuss college basketball. As sort of the March Madness season is picking up. We have big show today. This weekend, there's a lot of great games. This week, there's a lot of great games of college basketball, and it's only just getting started. So I'm excited.
Real quick, I'm a Patriots fan, but shout out to my hometown Washington Commanders for pulling off the dub. Not
hmm
basketball related, but had to get that in there.
hmm
I got the cup right here. But yeah, no, it's been a fun season. Obviously, as an Auburn fan, like it's until yesterday, which we will get into. I put that as one of the the titles of one, or one of the title in here. I don't know why I was blanking, but I mean it was all going so well. Like Johni Broome, like killing it, favorite to win National Player of the Year, and then I guess sadly it kind of went up in flames yesterday. But I mean it sounds like it's low ankle sprain, so it shouldn't be a season ender, but yeah, we'll get into that. It's certainly one of the top stories we'll have to talk about from this weekend's games. I just pulled up on my TV screen here like a list of all the games. So in fact, if hold it down real quick, I gotta put some batteries in my Xbox controller
Uh,
because I have like a list of all
hmm
the games pulled up. My batteries just died. So
I know I pulled up an ESPN list as well, just to discuss some of the games. Today there was a lot of Big Ten action. Yesterday was mostly SEC and Big East games. I mean, everybody plays on Saturday for the most part. There's wide variety of games,
really wish
but
the SEC would mix
mhm.
some Friday and Sunday games in there like the Big Ten does because
Yeah,
I hate like
Big Ten has like two games every night for the most part, other than like Mondays. I think even
I know
Monday, I
the
think they have a game.
the SEC, they do all the home games on Saturdays on
hmm
weekends because
hmm
on Sundays when they do all the women's games.
hmm
So like I don't know. I'm trying to get these batteries open currently, so this is quite the content. I'm gonna try to upload this show on regular podcast as well.
hmm
I wanted to start doing that, especially we were floating earlier when me and you were talking about trying to start pushing these out on like maybe Fridays and Sundays, like try to
hmm
make these Sundays a routine thing,
hmm
especially once football ends. Well, I'm sure we'll be more, not ass crack late on Sunday night, but we just
hmm
figured like nobody's gonna want to fucking sit here and watch two fucking dipshits talk about college basketball while there's playoff
hmm
football on. So
hmm
I figured we should wait for the football to clear way to get on here and do that.
I do know.
But
Yeah, I know you mentioned that. There's a YouTuber in in when the election was going on. Last year he made a lot of like March Madness content, and he makes political content too. Uh, but he today just or either today or yesterday, just uploaded his first bracketology update. So I knew, I mean, it makes sense to start the show now. So
Hell yeah. Um, but yeah, I guess to start the weekend, I don't have much to talk about the games
mhm.
Friday, but I guess if we're going in chronological order, the funny first thing to bring up is Mick Cronin's absolute crash out on Friday night against Maryland.
uh, I mean, it's been coming for a while. It, what did he even say on earlier this week? He was like complaining about, uh,
He said his players don't have passion, and he's the only
yeah,
one that wants to win, and a bunch of you can't say that, dude.
I,
Like
he's
he's put his foot in his mouth a lot the last couple years, so
there's
not surprising.
he's getting to the point where old man yells at cloud about the transfer portal. There's been several coaches that have done that. Some I understand, others it's just like why.
Yeah, I mean it's
He's
like
like,
we just started the show. It's like when Jim Larinaga retired, and it's like, okay, Jim, like, he retired and blamed the transfer portal and everything. It's like, all right, well, when you got three players from your Final Four team through the transfer portal, like, I didn't hear you
he,
complaining about it then, Jim. But like now the tides have turned there on Miami, and suddenly like it's a portal problem when they got Nigel Pack and literally like
yeah,
built their
it's
their
literally
Final Four team through the portal.
they paid $800,000. Nigel Pack was gonna come to Purdue, and but John Ruiz, who's now I think in jail or in trouble with the law, he has that was Miami was one of the primary offenders of the like NIL spending out of control, and we continue to see it in football. Basketball, the funds have kind of gone away, but
It
uh,
sounds like that's going to start getting
yeah,
capped at least, luckily.
yeah. Especially with the new, uh, or whatever it's called, court ruling coming up here in June or July,
Say February 1st is like
February
when they're going
1st.
to start monitoring like
Yeah.
how much teams spend, and
Hmm.
so I mean we'll see what comes of that. But yeah, I mean I guess like we're going to talk about quite a few games on Saturday, I imagine, and like some of the games we'll get deeper in, and like we'll whip around, and like if there's any, like, you can always jump in if there's any games like I don't bring up that you want to bring up, like feel free to go right on ahead and do that. But the first one I put in the title here, and I guess where we'll start, it was the first significant game of the day, was Duke winning at Notre Dame, or at Duke, I should say, against Notre Dame. But Cooper Flagg, coming out party for him, dropped 42. 86-78 was the final in that one. So yeah, not a great defensive performance from Duke. Notre Dame, to their credit, like, that's a program on the rise. They're not there yet, but I like what they have going there, and I think they'll be something to be reckoned with in a couple years. But they played a competitive game, but when Cooper Flagg's playing like that, it's going to be hard to stop him. And this was the first real game for Cooper Flagg this year where he took over and he was not deferring, like he was the number one guy in this game. And like that is the kind of performance that people have been waiting for from Cooper Flagg all year, is for him to really take over a game like that. And then obviously with um a little while later Johni Broome's injury, like he went from people kind of waiting for that moment to now Cooper Flagg is like minus 300 or minus 350 to be the national player of the year. So a real big day for Cooper Flagg, and finally burst onto a lot of people's scene uh, yesterday. And I mean, he's, with how bad the ACC is this year, he's Cooper's, if he plays like he did yesterday, he's going to put up some crazy numbers this year. And I mean, I don't like Duke, but it's good for college basketball to have a star like that and have another Zion Williamson type figure. And I mean, I have the box score pulled up here. Like, we've seen Cooper kind of defer and be the second or third guy to Con Knipple and Tyrese Proctor there a lot. And like, as I'm looking at the box score here, like Con Knipple had 13, Tyrese Proctor had 3 points. Like, it really was the Cooper Flagg game yesterday. He scored 86 points, and or they scored 86 points and he scored 42 of them. So he really took that one over.
I know Cooper Flagg. I mean, he's clearly the number one prospect in the NBA. I think it's been that way for a while for this upcoming draft class. Um,
especially with how Dylan Harper's underperformed this year. They
yeah,
kind of put an
yeah.
end to that discussion.
hmm just well, I mean, Ace Bailey's still up there. He'll be probably be number two. Um, we'll get into that in a minute, but um, they do. I mean, Cooper Flagg is obviously the guy, but and like you said, Notre Dame, they have a ways to go. Just as building, they're just a young team still. Um, Micah Shrewsbury is gonna turn them around. He turned around Penn State. Notre Dame was just so far in the hole, but it's gonna take a while for them to be built out of that. Uh, just that end of that Mike Bray experience. But Duke going down the stretch, Cooper Flagg will be good for him. I feel like once teams good when they play great teams in the tournament. I don't know. I don't think Duke's a very far deep run team in
I
the
think they
tournament.
are, but
I think they just take away everything else and let Cooper Flagg do his thing. And once he goes cold,
it's gonna be
yeah,
it's gonna
yeah,
be tough
yeah.
to see because they're not gonna be challenged much in the
Mhm.
ACC this year. So we're really not gonna know what kind of
Yeah.
team they are until tournament time comes around,
Mhm.
and like they'll almost surely be a one seed at this point with like they built a strong non conference resume, and then they're going to absolutely dominate ACC play. FanDuel has a prop up right now. I saw earlier for Duke to go undefeated in ACC play, and it's plus 250, which is like crazy. Plus 250 for them to go undefeated in ACC play. Like that goes to show the weakness of that league this year. Duke is currently the only top 25 team in the league.
Yeah. I mean, ACC just kind of is not there
I mean, we
currently.
saw it earlier this year that SEC ACC challenge that SEC went
hmm
14-2.
hmm
Like,
I a lot of what I have to say about Duke just uh, they're a good team. I don't think they're a great team yet. Just overall in their depth, because they're so young. I mean, that's the typical Duke equation. How much skill do you have to push your team? It just depends on how sort of their other players develop around Cooper Flagg. Because that Cooper Flagg will carry them to a top four. Be a top 8, top 12 seed in the tournament. Depending on how many more times they lose between here and March. But I don't think it'll be very many. But that's
if
really,
any at all.
yeah, yeah,
I think that's a real like distinct. I mean, obviously it's more than likely like they'll slip up somewhere on the road in the ACC at some point. But if you sat here today and told me Duke is goes into the tournament not having lost since whenever their last loss was December, who was their last loss? I don't remember, but yeah, like, I mean, if you told me they ran the table in ACC play, like I said, plus 250 on FanDuel, that wouldn't be the most surprising outcome. It's just a terrible league this year, and they'll still probably get 3 teams in the Elite Eight somehow or something like that, knowing what we've seen from the ACC the last couple years.
yeah. I mean, that pretty much speaks for itself. I really hope one team I hope in the ACC hope I, that I hope is good is Wake Forest. Old Steve
Yeah,
Forbes. I'm rooting for him.
yeah, yeah. Interesting year in the ACC. Definitely some like obviously. I mean, we've seen what 2 coaches in the ACC just retire, like
Yeah, retire.
Tony Bennett right before the season and Jim Larinaga in December, and then um, Leonard Hamilton's obviously like on his way out there at Florida State with everything going on there. So like I would be shocked beyond belief if Leonard Hamilton's still coaching at Florida State come this time next year. But
Yeah.
so
Uh,
I mean the old guard is definitely moving its way out of that league. But yeah, that's about all I got on that game. I don't know if you have anything else to
I,
add, and
I don't
keep
think.
it moving
Yeah,
forward.
let's just keep moving.
All right. I'm trying to like my screen isn't in chronological order of how the games were played, so I'm trying to like remember off memory like chronologically these games. So the next one I'd say to talk about is Auburn 66,
Hmm.
South Carolina
Hmm.
63. Number 2 team in the country, probably come 12 hours from now will be the number 1 team in the country, the Auburn Tigers. They scrap out a win on the road at South Carolina. They were down at halftime. South Carolina came out hot in the first half, and Auburn had played a very good defensive game in the first half, and really like even before Broome's injury, like Broome was not playing a great game. So like South Carolina had him run. Like we say it all the time. It's tough to win on the road in the SEC. So it's like
I think
yeah,
it's.
obviously I would have liked to seen a better performance, but it's not surprising. And Broome was before he went down yesterday. He was 3 for 11 with 6 points and 3 rebounds. Definitely was not like Nick Pringle had him strapped up pretty well, and also Colin Murray Boyles was just playing out of his mind for South Carolina and really keeping that one competitive. But after Broome's injury, Auburn was able to rally down the stretch and get some big buckets from Todd Pettiford and Miles Kelly leading the way to scrap out a dub at South Carolina. So it's going to be a tough SEC this year, and that's why like people are going to overreact. I'm sure with all obviously the Broome injury is a separate discussion, but just in general as a team, it's like people are like you barely beat South Carolina. Like yes, it's South Carolina probably the worst team in the SEC this year. Yes, but like it goes to show the strength of the league this year that like you got to bring your A game every night or you're going to find yourself in a dogfight. And Auburn, which to date is the best team in the SEC, has obviously found that out yesterday.
Yeah. Auburn, they're a great team, no doubt. One of the top. They'll probably be a top 4 seed for the come tournament time. But they went into a typical trap game at a place like South Carolina. They are lucky to be undefeated still. Um, After the Broome injury, and then at the end of the game, they South Carolina just sold Nick Pringle. Pretty much missed, sold the bag against them, missing 2 free throws there at the end.
Thank God.
Um, yeah, I'm
Hey,
not the biggest fan of Nick Pringle's game. Obviously, last year he tried. This is a side. Last year he tried to trash talk Zach Edey when he had 0 points, 1 rebound, and fouled out of the game.
oh yeah, it really showed up there. Hey, you're on a computer by the way. Do you have
Yeah.
like do you know how to put like tweets up on the screen? If I
Um,
send you one,
I could
or
present.
should I just read?
Let me
Should I
see.
just read it off?
I can
Because I have
share
a tweet.
screen. I can share screen or share screen.
Okay, let me text you this real quick because I saw this earlier and
Send it
wanted to
to
make
send it to me on Twitter.
okay. Yeah, I wanted to make sure since we're talking about how deep the SEC is this year, I wanted to make sure because this was crazy to me. But all right, I just DM'd it to you. You can pop this up, but this is the estimated chances of receiving an at-large bid in the tournament based off Torvik's projections. So if you can put that in the screen, it'll just go to show how deep the SEC is this year, and they're probably going to break that record that the Big East set of 11 teams in the dance. Like the SEC has a real chance to get 12, 13 teams in this year, and
Yeah, there's
so
at
I sent you
large.
that tweet. If you need me to read it off, I can read it off. But
I mean I can see it. Yeah, I mean obviously the only thing. Yeah, it's crazy how deep the SEC is. Just how many ranked teams they've had. There's some crazy stat going into conference play, um, too, where they had like all their teams had a winning record, pretty much.
while you're
Um,
getting that pulled up real quick too, I just want to say shout out. We got 35 people watching. Thank
35
you to
people.
Cody for letting us put this up on the Left Turn
Mhm.
Colt channel. We want to make sure we got some some eyes going to it for Sectator. So that's their biggest platform, and he let us put it up on there. So thank him for that first off, and thank you to anybody tuning in. I assume most of those are coming from Twitter, but if not, if you're on YouTube, thank you as well. And make sure, even if you're watching on Twitter, please head over to the Sectator Media YouTube and subscribe and drop a like, because we're going to try to start pushing a lot more of these out along with other content.
I know I'm sharing the not SoCon, but SEC standings. Right now, all the teams are above 500 on the year. The two listed from that tweet that show as having 0% at-large bid or LSU and South Carolina. Even they might go on a run and be in contention for a bid. So
they're not bad teams. Like, yeah, like you still like I say, you need to bring your A game against those teams. So, did you get that pulled up, or did you want me to just read it off?
I mean, I had it pulled up.
Oh, okay, I didn't see it on my screen, so I didn't know if it was going out on here or not.
I shared it back to the.
Okay. But
You can go down it if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, estimated chances of receiving an at-large bid per Bart Torvik's projections. Auburn at 100%. Auburn, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, locks. I would say Georgia at 94 points, probably a lock. Missouri 88.1, Texas 75, which I see that slipping. That's the one. I mean, you never know with these projections that Texas is not good, but Texas at 75, Oklahoma 72.5, Vanderbilt at 28.9, Arkansas at 10.1, and LSU and South Carolina at 0. So, according to this, there's a greater than 70% chance that 12 of the 16 teams in the SEC get an at-large bid to the Dan. Obviously, somebody's going to get an auto bid, and 12 of the 16 are greater than 70% chance to get an at-large, according to Torvik. So, pretty wild stuff there, and just goes to show how deep the SEC is this year. And that's why I say yesterday, it's like we had a tough one at South Carolina, like not a great team, but you got to bring your A game every night in this league, or you're going to find yourself in a battle. So I was happy to see Auburn just come out of that one with a win. Get them however you can get them.
Yeah, I know we talk about it too in SEC. Vanderbilt and Missouri are much improved this year. Missouri bouncing back from a horrible year last year, and then Vanderbilt changing coaches to Mark Byington. I think South Carolina, once again, is still on that upswing with Lamont Paris. So it's not shocking that they're upsetting teams at home. I believe they upset somebody last year in a similar fashion. I forget who it was.
Carolina was good last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, they very overperformed a lot, I should say, last year.
Let's see.
Yeah, you got anything else on that one, or
I do not.
Keep it moving. All right. Like I said, I'm pulling up the list of games right here. Like I say, they're not in chronological order on my screen. My thing's messing up. Can you go ahead and just give me one to talk about next?
I guess we can talk about not Tennessee versus Tech, but the big one, Iowa State versus Texas Tech.
Great game, fantastic game, overtime finish. Texas Tech had a shot to win it, or a chance to win it at the end. That was a barn burner. That was a back and forth great one. I mean, a lot of people were surprised about the spread we had there, that Texas Tech was favored to win that game, and Iowa State came in as a 2.5, 3-point underdog, depending where you looked, and they're the number 3 team in the country right now, and they were able to scrap out a W yesterday. So yeah, they're a fantastic team again this year. They were my national championship pick before the year. Iowa State was. I said Iowa State, Auburn, national championship. So I feel pretty good about that, considering my 2 national championship picks are going to be 1-2 when the poll comes out tomorrow. But yeah, great game for Iowa State. Curtis Jones had 26 in that one. Uh, Joshua Jefferson had 17. Yeah, this is not. I feel like Iowa State in years past has been like that grinder defensive team that or people kind of come to expect, and they're not that team this year. Like they can score the ball. They're one of the best offensive. Maybe the I haven't looked at Kempom today, but possible they're either one or two in all. I don't know if they passed Auburn yesterday or not because Auburn didn't. I believe they were two in offensive efficiency on Kempom yesterday, but they can score the hell out of the ball, and they needed every bit of it, every bit of that 85 points to
Mhm.
win it yesterday. For Texas Tech, JT Toppin, Chance McMillan, and Christian Anderson all put up 18 in them to keep them in that one. But yeah, that was a great game, overtime, back and forth. Same thing. You copy paste what I said about the SEC and put it on the Big 12 too.
I
It's
mean,
like
yeah,
you got
it
to bring your A
does
game
every
if you're
year.
going to go on the road there.
I think the Big 12 is always like that. Like you just look at them and you're like, dang, all these teams are good. Maybe with the possible exception of Central Florida this year. Um, yeah,
Cincinnati. We'll get to them. I'm about fucking sick of them.
yeah, we'll talk about that. But uh, just that game yesterday. I mean, Iowa State didn't have their best shooting performance, but they pulled it out. I wasn't watching the game, but I was following on my phone, and I was just like, "Dang, this is going to overtime." It's just one of those barn burner type games you come to expect. Um, Texas Tech is always solid. They got a few big time players this year. JT Toppin.
Yeah, Joshua Jefferson made a layup like right at the buzzer in regulation to even send that one to overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
Iowa State really had to grind that one
Mm-hmm.
out. Like it did not look for a while like it was going to be their day. Uh, I feel like Texas Tech led a good chunk of that game, but Iowa State they stayed in it and they fought. Like they're a veteran team. They're not intimidated, and I mean that's what wins in this sport now is when you have that veteran experience and talent to lead your team. It's whether you have a big game in March or you have a big game on the road in your league. When you have those veteran guys that you can rely on that can go get you a bucket, that's huge. And that's what makes Iowa State so good. Like they won the Big 12 last year and brought back pretty much all their guys. Like that, they're a legitimate threat. Like I said, they were my national championship pick before the year. Them, Auburn were my national championship matchup. And we top two teams in the country, so I'll pat myself on the back a little bit there. But yeah, yeah. You said you weren't able to watch that one.
No,
Well,
a lot of the earlier games wasn't able to watch as much, other than USC Illinois, because I was at a basketball game myself yesterday. My ETSU Buccaneers versus the Citadel Bulldogs.
well, since you mentioned that one, by the way, we can. Are you done with Iowa State, Texas Tech?
Yeah,
You got
I'm pretty
anything
much done.
else to
I
add
don't really
there?
got
Yeah.
anything.
Texas Tech, good team though. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
ranked right now. They won't be ranked. Obviously, they took a loss this week, but Texas Tech's a good team. Like they'll be in the tournament. They'll get a good seed. Like they'll be a problem in March. Like Texas
Mm-hmm.
Tech is. If I'm a Red Raider fan, I'm obviously disappointed you took the loss yesterday. But like that's a legitimate good team there in Lubbock. So yeah, they'll be a problem this year. But yeah, we can get to we're up to 50 viewers, by the way. Thank you, people, for tuning in. And like I said, leave a comment, like, retweet, go on YouTube, like, subscribe, all that shit, because we're going to try to do more of these. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
keep reiterating that because we're going to try to push these out more and more. So, um, but yeah, Illinois, USC, that was a weird one.
Yeah, did not
I wasn't
expect that
watching that
upset.
one. I was subject early in the day. I was at work, so I was subject to one game at a time on my phone. So
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't able to tune into that one. But yeah, that was a weird one, man. USC's been bad this year. I don't know where that came from for them to go to Illinois. The way Illinois's been blowing the doors off teams this year, and That's crazy. At home too. I thought Illinois was going to take care of business there. I did not expect that if we were going to be doing a show, that was going to be a game we even had to talk about. But Illinois lost pretty handily, so that is indeed one we have to talk about. You're the Big
Yeah,
Ten guy though, so
yeah,
I'll give you the floor there.
because I I honestly don't think Illinois is that great of a team, to be completely honest. I mean, they have a couple good players, but they're starting their two guards that they start. I think both of them are highly overrated. Kylan Boswell and Trey White. Um, I think there's a lot of talent on their bench. That Jake Davis, I think he's a potential breakout candidate in the future. That the one guy Ben Humor, he's pretty good. But USC, yeah, I mean, a lot of the uh, old Pac-12 teams in the Big Ten have been kind of struggling so far this year. Even Oregon, even though they're winning a lot, UCLA struggling to start out. But USC comes out of nowhere. Probably, honestly, they might be thinking about. And shout out to the victims of all those fires out in California. They may have been playing for them this weekend.
Absolutely, awful
Um,
stuff there.
but yeah, USC just comes out and looks good. I think what's his face? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the USC coach's name.
Muss?
Musselman, Eric Musselman. I think he's gonna
Oh yeah,
do. He'll probably do a better job there than Andy Enfield, to be completely honest.
yeah. I mean that's a
And
pretty low bar, but
yeah,
I
Enfield was just a good recruiter, and would never. His high mark was that Elite Eight, that random Elite Eight that he went. I think he had a what's his face on there, Mobley. Yeah, Mobley, Evan Mobley.
yeah. Well, I mean he left Arkansas in
Hmm.
fucking shambles, and
Yeah,
then had his
he's a
worst season.
West Coast guy, so I think he'll be a better cultural fit there than Arkansas.
Yeah, I mean I don't know. Like they got the win yesterday, but yeah, they've had
Hmm.
some rough outcomes this
Hmm.
year, and now the
Hmm.
way Muss left to Arkansas. So I mean, I don't think that I don't know if there's a guy, I guess, other than Jim Larinaga maybe and Tony Bennett, obviously, who are out of the sport, like who's like had more success and their stock has plummeted quicker in
Hmm.
a short amount of time than Muss. But I mean, he was able to get a big win yesterday and try to salvage something of that
Hmm.
season.
Hmm. Um, yeah, I don't have much else to say. Good on. Uh, I think Illinois just had a stinker, and um, USC. I think they may. I don't. I'll. I, I'm not sure if this is a trend that'll continue or not, but yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
All right. Big one early in the day. UConn's was able to take down Georgetown on the road, 68-60. Georgetown was a trendy pick at home to pull
Hmm.
the upset this year. They seem to finally be trending in the right direction as a program, and so yeah, like I said, they were a trendy pick to pull that upset yesterday. But UConn went in there and went into DC and took care of business. Alex Caravan scored 19 points. Solo Ball had 15. Uh, UConn did what they need to do yesterday on the road. I mean, like Georgetown's a tough defensive team. Ed Cooley's obviously always going to play that way, and like his teams are always going to fight you hard. I guess I don't know. I couldn't think of a better term to say there in that moment, but um, yeah, they've been better this year. They're on the right track. They're 12-4, 3-2 in the Big East now, and yeah, like I said, they were a trendy pick to make some noise yesterday against UConn, but Dan Hurley's bunched back-to-back national champions. They did what they needed to do yesterday. 8-point win on the road, covered the spread, and yeah, they're heading in the right direction after some early season struggles. But I know you're a big UConn guy. This guy's still not over the national championship, so um, Yeah, so I mean, I'll let you take the floor. I'm sure you'll have some pot shots to get at UConn here. I really wish Matt
I,
was here right now for you
I,
guys to just go at it about UConn, but Matt will be with us more, I expect, going forward.
I think UConn. I mean, they bounced back nicely after an upset win earlier this week by Villanova, um, losing to Kyle Neptune, who's been on kind of the hot seat this season. And you see much of the similar thing with Georgetown, just kind of struggling. UConn's only really consistent players are at this point are Alex Caravan and Solo Ball, and it's kind of been that way this year. They don't look like the title teams of the past 2 years. They have a lot of flaws as a team. Caravan, of course, is great. Solo Ball is great. McNeely, I think, is McNeely hurt right now? Is he hurt?
Um, I believe so. Yeah,
Okay,
he
that
didn't
makes
play
sense.
yesterday.
That may make sense why they're struggling more. But
And
they've
Aiden Mahaney is just, I mean, he was supposed to come in and be a lead guard for them, and he was just not a hit for them. He's not a
yeah,
fit in
I
that system, and he isn't a big factor there. So that's
I
been a lot of their issues this year is trying to work him in, and that just not being successful.
I know earlier last year I had read when that I read like the news about that transfer, and I saw like people saying he was good, but he wasn't great at St. Mary's. Like sometimes you get these people entering the transfer portals. He was just a 35% 3 point shooter, and only averaged 2 assists a game. So
But
he's
he was a
yeah
ball dominant guard for a,
yeah
a
yeah.
really slow team that slowed games down,
Mhm.
and then like obviously like he went to UConn and they're playing a different style, and you just see that guys sometimes they get in a system and they're not a fit, and it's like when you're like I say a ball dominant guard for like a methodical team like St. Mary's and you transfer to UConn, it was always going to be a weird fit, and it just hasn't worked out for
Mhm.
them with him this year.
St. Mary's. I mean, Randy Bennett has a system down pat. Like he's run one on the same things for 20 years now.
They are like since you
Sort,
mentioned them, just they are beating the fuck out of teams. Like right, like oh my god, I know it's the WCC and people are gonna
mhm.
fucking roll their eyes. They are beating the fucking shit. That's how they like if you want to make sure you get an at large in a weak league and don't leave any doubt, like you do what St. Mary's is doing, and they're just anybody you they're going up against, they're fucking running them out of the gym.
There's a reason why they've been the consistent like number two team in the WCC for years, and why they're in contention with Gonzaga every year. And that game means that much in that league. Um, so yeah, but just just UConn. They've had some struggles here as of late, almost losing to Providence as well. Butler, yeah, they almost lost to Butler a couple weeks ago. They've been up and down all year. They've been more so on the lucky side for a lot of their games in December after Maui, where they just got steamrolled. Um,
I mean, they've been taking care
or,
of business
yeah,
since
yeah,
since the Maui
yeah,
debacle. Like,
yeah.
like they're gonna UConn's gonna be like they're gonna be around when it matters.
There'll
I
be
think
a
people saw what happened in Maui and kind of like wrote them off and like, oh, well, these guys suck. Like, no, UConn's they're gonna figure it out. Like Dan Hurley's a good enough coach. They have enough talent there. I mean, well, Caravan's still the leader there, and like they're gonna be a factor in this thing. Like
yeah.
you're not free of them yet.
They'll be a solid 4 or 5 seed. They won't be the buzzsaw they were last year. Teams will have an easier time with. They don't really have. I wouldn't say they have the athletic guards they did last year.
I mean, we
Um,
saw this a couple years
yeah,
ago with them when
but
they won their first national championship of the two in a row, and
mhm,
they lost what 7 of 8 games.
mhm.
Like there, I mean, people were writing UConn and Dan Hurley's obituary, and then they turn around and like cakewalk to a national championship, beat the shit out of everybody. So it's like you can't write them off. Like Dan had a new team this year. He didn't have the NBA talent on this team that he's had in years past, and like they struggled to figure it out. They had to play differently, and now like this team is coming together. Like I said, Caravan's still the veteran leader there. Like they're figuring it out, and they'll be a factor. Like they're just a program that they've proven like they're gonna, whatever they need to do, they're gonna figure out how to win with. Dan's gonna figure out how to win with that team, and that's what he's doing right now. It's like he had to make adjustments after what happened in Maui, and ever since Maui, like they've they've lost one game since Maui. So you're not rid of them yet. I'm sorry, bro.
Hopefully, we will be soon enough. Hopefully, Danny Hurley goes to the NBA, reconsiders his decision.
I don't think that's happening after the last courtship, that how that went. But all right, you got anything else on that one, or you can keep it moving?
I think that's all I got for that.
All right, this fucking stinker. I didn't even want to talk about it. I just like this. Cincinnati's pissing me off this year because it's they're the classic computer tricker of the year, where like they rate highly. I think when the first net came out, they were like 6 or 7 in there. And I mean they've been getting, they were favored against Arizona at home. It was a pick 'em against Kansas yesterday at home. I don't know where that line ended up moving right before the game, but like they're bad. Cincinnati's not good. I don't understand how these good computer numbers came about for them, and that game was a fucking stinker. But Kansas wins 54-40. Hunter Dickinson puts up 14. He was the leading scorer. Yeah, that was an ugly, ugly game, and I more just wanted to highlight the fact that like Cincinnati is Cincinnati closed as a half-point favorite in that game. I'm looking at it right here. So, yeah, I'm sick of Cincinnati because it's like every week it's just like a weird line with them. Every game there's a weird line. It's a team they shouldn't be favored against, and luckily I didn't fall for it yesterday. But it's just like I'm tired of even like having the temptation there of like having to think about them. Like, don't do it anymore. They're fucking bad. Don't bet on them. They're not good. They're 0-4 in the Big 12 now. They've got the shit kicked out of them by Arizona. They got dominated and scored 40 points at home yesterday against Kansas. So I'm tired of Cincinnati. And as for Kansas, I think we slightly overrated them coming into the season. I mean, they were the preseason number 1. They're clearly not the best team in the nation. They're not the best team in their own league. But yeah, I mean, they got it done yesterday. They grinded it out. It wasn't pretty, but 54-40, they get it done. So Kansas, Cincinnati, what do you got?
My 2 comments. I'm not really a big Wes Miller guy from his time in the SoCon. I think he just plays just grimy basketball, like ugly basketball, where it's basically just have it, throw teams off as much as you can and start getting hot from 3. And Kansas is they are the portal cinder, or how would I describe this? The portal winners of the year that have disappointed. Because they brought in.
I wouldn't say that. I would give that honor to Arkansas, but
I mean, Kansas just brought. They bring in a perfect team. They pay AJ Storr millions to not do much. Bring in Flory Benduga as a freshman. He's not doing much. Badunga or
passed up on Auburn. He's not doing shit.
Yeah, he passed up on a lot of teams. Who else do they got? Rylan Griffin, transfer from Alabama. DeJohn Harris, I think he was at Kansas last year. Yeah, they got a bunch of 5th-year players all together. Dickinson, AJ.
The worst.
He's in get a job territory. There's a lot of players.
The worst.
I
The worst.
Nick Pringle was also in that get a job territory. Um, but like I've hated Dickinson um, ever since he went to Michigan over Purdue. I'm kind of glad we didn't get him because of course, we got Zach Edey after he passed on us. Um, he's just a cocky player that isn't an NBA player. Thinks he's all that.
No.
Yeah, I don't. They showed the
Hell no.
Bart Torvik Player of the Year ratings. He should not be up there. I don't get it.
No, he always hangs around there. Like he's not anybody who fucking puts eyes on these games. He's not that level of player. Like he's one of those guys where the hype has never lived up to the production.
He's having his worst year since his freshman year from a scoring perspective. He's just averaging a double-double. That's the only thing keeping him up there. But yeah, that's all I really got to say. So far, we'll see how Kansas performs down the stretch in the Big 12. But they are. I don't think they're that great. Like they were hyped up to be coming into the year. But that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah. Big one in the SEC. Georgia wins 72-62 against Oklahoma at home. Georgia's been very impressive this year. Asa Newell's one of the best freshmen in the country. It was a good battle of freshmen between Jeremiah Fears and Asa Newell there in the SEC. Two guys with a lot of hype. I mean, it just goes to show how dominant the SEC is this year, where Oklahoma was undefeated coming into league play. Now they turn around and they're 0-3 in the league, begging for a win. Jeremiah Fears has definitely not looked like the same player in the in league play that he looked like, against Michigan and what we saw the first couple months of the season. Once he's gotten into the SEC, it's been a rude awakening. But yeah, Asa Newell is awesome. That's Georgia's definitely a program on the rise. They should solidly be a tournament team. The way they're trending right now. I mean, I read the Torvik stat off earlier. It gave them a 94% chance to get at large or whatever I said a little while ago. But Georgia's been very impressive this year, and they continue to roll. So good win for them, and tough. It's been a tough stretch for Oklahoma to come into league play undefeated, and now they turn around. They blew a 18-point lead versus Texas A&M and lost that one. They got their doors blown off at Alabama last week, and then they go to Stegman, and they have not looked great. Like I said, Jeremiah Fears, he was got pulled up 1 for 11 with 2 points yesterday against Georgia. So brutal game for him. Guy who looked like he was going to be on the short list. Obviously, Cooper Flagg's going to be freshman of the year, but Jeremiah Fears was definitely going to be on that list at least. And then Asa Newell, another great freshman. He scores 15 yesterday. Yeah, good win for Georgia. Mike White has Georgia basketball for the first time in a long time trending in the right direction. So you got anything on that game?
Not a whole lot. Obviously, I've been kind of surprised by Georgia as well. Seeing that they're 14-2. I'm not the biggest fan of Mike White as a head coach, but they're doing good so far. We'll see how they go down the stretch. Oklahoma, I mean, I love Porter Moser as a head coach. I think he's a good coach. I don't think their 0-3 start is going to harm them. I think they'll finish further up in the SEC standings, but they've got to turn it around here soon. They're a young team, obviously, so we'll see how they do down the stretch. But I think both these teams are about middle of the pack in the SEC. So we'll see how they do and if they both get in the tournament or not. But I don't have much else besides that.
Game we don't have to spend too much time on, but I remember it was an early one. I was
Mhm.
watching it. I bet on it. So I'm waiting for my page to refresh too. So I'm just going off the cuff here. But uh, St. Bonaventure took a surprising loss in league play there. Like I said, I mean, we're not gonna lose all 62 of our viewers and dive into St. Bonaventure, LaSalle too much. But St. Bonaventure, they've been a good team in the A10 covering machine this year. I think the best team in the nation against the spread going into yesterday. And went in as double digit favorites and lost in overtime to a LaSalle team that was really struggling coming in there. So that was a very surprising result early in the day.
The A10 is going to be a wild league this year, I'd say. They have their standings are all over the place here to start. Um, you just have teams just randomly everywhere. I think that's usually how it is. So that conference tournament's going to be crazy. Um, St. Bonaventure, they've been impressive so far. LaSalle, I mean, they have what's his face, Fran Dunphy, the old LaSalle coach. We're talking about old coaches. He's probably top three after some of these recent retirements. But yeah,
Greg Campy.
yeah. Campy, he's actually not super old, but he's just been there a long time. He got his first coaching job there and has just stayed there ever since.
Long time.
Yeah.
But all right, yeah, back into the games to highlight. Got two from the SEC
Mm-hmm.
to talk about. Kentucky 95, Mississippi State 90.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Pope's team, man, they continue to they they score the hell out of the basketball, and I mean I never know what to think about teams like how Kentucky's playing this year, and Alabama's in the same boat, where it's like when you're just pace, we don't play defense, we're just shooting threes out of the gym. It's great until you have that night you go 7 for 30 from the 3 point line, and uh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, then you're going to be in trouble. And yeah, I don't know, like when Kentucky runs into one of these teams that really wants to slow you down, I don't know how it's going to go for them. Same with Alabama for that boat. We'll get to Alabama A&M in a little bit. Um, but yeah, Kentucky gets a big win at the hump. Not Mississippi State was a solid favorite coming into that game. I think 5-6 points is the line
Mm-hmm.
there, and Kentucky's able to go in there and get it done. Jackson Robinson hits 7 3-pointers, puts up 27 points. They had 6 guys in double digits yesterday. They were Kentucky was super impressive in that one. So shout out to Mark Pope and what he's done at Kentucky so far this year, because they seem like a legit threat in the SEC, one of the best teams in the nation. I mean, they had the stinker against Ohio State, and other than that, they've been awesome. And
Yeah, that was one of
yeah,
the
go ahead.
that was probably the biggest, well, the second biggest barn burner of the day, behind uh, Iowa State and Texas Tech. Just a 95-90 primetime game. Kentucky continues to look great with their team that's just been built basically with fifth-year guys. They have the same strategy as Kansas, but they've kind of, I think Mark Pope selected better. I think we kind of saw this with BYU last year, like a very great start in five, and a bench that was okay, an all right bench. But the one major issue with Kentucky, like you said, is being such a high scoring team, and they push their team that starting five continuously. If they get worn out, go cold,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
get
they
worn
went
out.
16 for
Yeah,
32 from three yesterday. I like the minute that 16 for 32 turns into 7 or 8 from 32, which is bound to happen to any team that plays the way they do. Like, it's going to catch up to you. So that's concerning, because, yeah, if they get in a situation like that, I don't think they can get the stops they need to
Mhm.
stay competitive against an elite team, especially once you start talking about big SEC games, SEC tournament, NCAA tournament. Um, I mean, obviously Mississippi State's a damn good team. Like that's a great win. I'm
Mhm.
just like,
I,
you're not going to be able to keep that up every night. So it's like that's going to be your strategy. There's going to be nights it doesn't work out for you. You're just going to have to tip the cat. But I mean, Mark Pope's doing a damn good job there. I'm sure Kentucky fans feel a lot better about the future of the program right now than they did 6 months ago. Because I mean, Mark Pope's just doing a fantastic job. Uh, I mean, there's no elite NBA talent on that team or anything, and yeah, they're killing it. So, hat tip to Mark Pope in Kentucky, and tough loss to Mississippi State, only their second loss of the season, but
I think
they're gonna be a really good team. I'm not worried about them at all.
Mississippi State's impressive too. I think next game against Mississippi State's next game against Auburn, they're going to be that's going to be a tough game for Auburn.
It's gonna be tough because that'll be the first game without Broome.
Mm-hmm.
So, I
I
mean, we'll see what happens.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, we didn't even really talk about Broome's injury when we talked about South Carolina, Auburn. I guess that'd be a time to talk about that. But it's like, yeah, I mean, Mississippi State's going to come in and they're going to be ready to play um, on Tuesday, and yeah, like it's going to be really. I think Auburn does have enough talent that even without Broome, like I don't think it's going to be a complete fall from grace in league play, and hopefully it's a short term injury and not something that stretches out too long. I don't think it's expected to be. It's a low ankle sprain, thankfully. But I mean, yeah, they're gonna have a big test on Tuesday. Auburn is and Mississippi State is, and it's gonna be two teams. Like we're gonna learn a lot about what kind of team Auburn's gonna be without Johni Broome, and we're gonna learn a lot about just how good is Mississippi State. Which I think the answer is Mississippi State's really good, and that's gonna be a competitive game.
I'd say the next, yeah, that's all I gotta say. But Johni Broome, his ankle injury, he rolled his ankle. I think Travis can speak more to it. That it was just it wasn't there wasn't any structural damage, so he didn't require surgery. So I don't think he's going to be out for
And
a
it's a
super
low
long time.
ankle, not a
Yeah,
high ankle.
so I'd say he'll probably be out a week or two, at most. Don't quote me on that. I don't know the severity
I
of
hope I
it.
can quote
Yeah.
you on that because that's a lot better than a month or so, which
Hmm.
is what. So no, go ahead. I'll quote you on that. Like,
Hmm.
I'm okay with that.
The next game from yesterday, Tennessee ekes out a win against Texas on the road, to bounce back after the absolute shell shacking on Wednesday, or it'd be
Shell
Tuesday.
shacking.
Yeah, shell shacking
That's
against
a new
Florida.
word.
Shellacking.
There you go.
I mean, I bet Tennessee had shell shock after uh, losing to Florida the way they did by 30 points.
Got their
Uh,
ass beat.
yeah, I mean, I think most people were expecting that for a while outside of UT fans, because I think Tennessee's played kind of a weak schedule thus far.
Oh, they have.
And I most of they're the same team from last year. They with Chaz Lanier in place of Dalton Connect and just a better big man, slightly better big man, but I still think an Igor Milicic Jr. I just don't think they have the offensive firepower to keep up in the SEC. They'll be a top four, top 5 seed, but I don't think they'll be top 5. Top 10. Oh, they'll be in the
Yeah.
top, maybe back half of top 10. So they'll struggle down the stretch. They aren't a perfect team by any means.
No. Yeah. Texas played another tough loss at home. They had a great comeback and made Auburn sweat it out on Tuesday last week, and then they come back and I mean it goes to show how brutal the SEC is this year. You get back-to-back home games against Auburn and Tennessee, the top two teams in the nation, and the Texas did hold. I don't know. I'm not really. I'm not really buying Texas. It's I'm on Texas. I'm
Mhm.
on Rodney Terry. I mean, they were obviously in a terrible position as a program with what happened with Rodney Terry. Obviously, what happened with Chris Beard, and then Rodney Terry got them to the Elite Eight, and they were kind of forced to hire him. So I don't know. It feels like they're just kind of stuck in the middle as a program. I wouldn't be surprised to see them move on from Rodney Terry if things go poorly this year. Man, it's crazy. Arthur Kaluma had 37 points against Auburn on Tuesday, or 30 something. I don't know, something crazy like that. And then he goes out yesterday and scores 4 points, only attempts 5 shots. Really surprising to see Arthur Kaluma fall off that much like he did yesterday, but Texas was still able to keep it competitive. It was a 4 point game. But yeah, no, Tennessee's good. They shouldn't be number one. They shouldn't have been number one. I think it's been clear to anybody who actually watches these games, and you look at any predictive metric. It's they've been telling you Auburn's been the best team for the last month, but I mean we had the audacity to go to Cameron Indoor Stadium and lose a close game. So that's
Mhm.
kept us from being number one behind Tennessee for a while. And Tennessee, like they had the win at Illinois, and other than that, there's nothing really impressive there.
Mhm.
And yeah, they go and grind out a road win at Texas. And yeah, Tennessee's a good team. Like they'll be good, but they're not the best team in the nation.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
officially no more unbeatens after that loss to Florida. They were the last one. The last three
Mhm.
standing were all coming out of the SEC. Florida, Tennessee, and Oklahoma, and they have all taken losses in the first 3 games in league play, and they're now no more unbeaten's.
Yeah. Speaking of Florida, this after they blew out Tennessee earlier this week, they beat Arkansas on Saturday. Not as impressive as a win, but still a good win all around. Um, you just, I think we should go rapid fire some of these games. Do you have anything to
Yeah,
say about that game?
yeah. There's only a couple left that like I really
Hmm.
want to
Hmm.
break down at all, but no. For the sake of time, yeah, like Arkansas, Florida. I don't have much to add
Yeah.
there other than just like Cal's. It's like it's all hype and no results, and it's another poor game for Cal. They've been terrible. I mean, Jonell Davis has fallen off the face of the earth. It's I don't know. It's there. It doesn't seem like there's many people left out there making excuses for him. Like I said, I wish Matt was in here because he'll definitely make them. I'm sure. I'm sure whenever we talk to him again on here, he'll have some. But yeah, it's just like
Hmm.
you're not getting the production from Cal at Art. They're a bad team. I don't think they're going to make the tournament. We'll see. But I mean, can they win 7 games in the SEC? Do you see that happening right now?
Not really.
Because that's probably what it's going to. It's probably 7 to 8 wins in the SEC is what it'll take for you to be guaranteed to get an at large out of the conference. So we'll see. But it has not come together for Cal at Arkansas and Florida. Uh, Todd Golden continues to be impressive.
Hmm.
They're a great team. They're a legitimate national championship contender in
Their
Gainesville.
their offense is wild. I will say that.
Yeah. No, Florida's a legit national
Hmm.
title
Hmm.
contender. I think they're a team a lot of people have just kind of seen hanging around this year. It's like, no, like that's a legit squad.
Um, speak,
Um,
Speaking of offense, I think it's good to transition into Alabama versus Texas A&M, which was another of the top 10 SEC showdown, or probably the highest rated SEC showdown of the week. It was a barn burner. Alabama won 94-88. Mark Sears had a great game. He's been up and down this year.
yeah,
Um,
he's turned it on the last
yeah.
8 games or so.
Mhm.
A really
Mhm.
slow start, but he's
Mhm.
definitely gotten it together. I mean that the sequence that ended that game was like when they got 3 straight offensive rebounds and kicked it back out to Mark Sears 3 times,
Mhm.
and or yeah, like he missed the first two and like missed, kicked it out to him, missed, kicked it out to him, and then like got the rebound, kicked it out to him again. He hit 3, and that's pretty much what put Texas A&M away. No Wade Taylor, the fourth for Texas A&M. He's missed the last couple games.
That
So,
makes sense.
but yeah, I mean they've been holding strong in the league still for them to like the comeback win against Oklahoma down 18 without their best player, and then to play one of the best teams in the league in Alabama as tough as they did without him. They're going to be in good shape, especially when he comes back. I think he should be back soon. But I mean, yeah, they're holding tough 13-3, 2-1 in the league, and haven't had Wade Taylor the last couple games. So yeah, Texas
A&M
A&M
is
is
a
going
tough
to be all
team.
right.
They're a tough team.
Yeah. But yeah, two I wanted to highlight. One from earlier in the day that got lost in the shuffle, but conference games still line up. New Mexico improves to 6-0 in the Mountain West, and they got a big win at the pit against San Diego State. San Diego State falls 3-2 in the league, but yeah, New Mexico has been killing it. The pit was on fire like always. Yeah, they got it going there. Richard Pitino has a great team out there, and they got a big win. So,
Yeah.
San Diego. As for San Diego State, yeah, they had some good wins in the non-conference, but yeah, a little bit of a struggle for them to start league play in the Mountain West. The
Mountain
last
West
year,
is
sadly, the last year of the Mountain West as we know it.
yeah,
Ahead.
because it's going to transition to the sort of the Pac-12 and then the remainders in Mountain West.
Yeah, they're ruined.
Couple great games from the Mountain West on Saturday.
You
Utah
already
State.
knew where you picked
Yeah,
me up perfectly there. You already knew where I was going. That
Utah.
was the game. That was the game of the day right there.
Mhm. Utah State won on an absolute insane 4-point play at the end of the game over Boise State. I think
Ian Martinez shoots 3, hit back iron up in the air, and then back through the basket. Got fouled on the follow through. So yeah, 4-point. They were down 2, 4-point play to put them up 2. What an insane game there, and at Utah State, man. They
shout out Jared Calhoun for going 16-1 in his first year. I actually
oh my
forgot
god,
he was their coach. He came from Youngstown State. Shockingly, he never got to the tournament there. He had great teams always. But Utah State's just one of those basketball factories, man. Like mid-major. Well, I mean, they'd be considered a mid-major, but they're one of those factories. They've had several coaches come through these past few years, going elsewhere. Odom from UMBC went to VCU. He's still a mid-major technically. Danny Sprinkle to Washington State now. Jared Calhoun here, so it'll be fun to watch him down the stretch and have some more Mountain West basketball.
But yeah, shout out to Jared Calhoun for figuring that out, and I mean, he picked up right where Danny Sprinkle left off. Like he left that program in a great place, and yeah, they've been awesome this year. The Mountain West is awesome again. I mean, will they get it done in March? I don't know. We'll find out. Probably not. I'll probably look stupid again. But I love Mountain West basketball, man, and it was like very fun game there with Boise State and Utah State back and forth. But yeah, Boise State had the seems like they had it in check for a while, and Utah State was able to rally there at the end. Yeah, the 4-point play was absolutely fucking insane. Like what a wild game. Boise State's a really good team too. So like they'll be fine. That was a tough loss for them, but like they'll be a factor in that league this year. And yeah, the Utah State and New Mexico now sit. You have to look up real quick if you can for me when Utah State and New Mexico play, because that's going to be a battle there in the Mountain West.
Let me find it. Let's see.
And while you're doing that, shout out to Tyson Dagenhart for Boise State. Played his ass off, 22 points. He was very efficient, 5 threes yesterday.
The first meeting of Boise State and New Mexico is at the pit.
No, Utah, New Mexico.
Oh,
Utah
Utah
State, New
State.
Mexico.
Let's see. It's probably further out. It is. Let's see. It is February the 1st.
We'll have to tune
Is
in.
their first meeting.
Where's that at?
It's at Utah State.
All right. Well, that February 1st. Mark your calendars. That's gonna be one to keep your eye on.
Let's see. And then the second meeting is probably at the end of the month. Mexico. Yeah, I don't know when the other one is. Let me check. It
Scroll
is.
through while you're doing that to see if there's any other games to hit on.
I was gonna. I had one more game I wanted to talk about, like mid-major wise. In the Southern Conference, on Saturday, there was a big game, UNCG versus Sanford. Sanford came away with the win, 76-69. That was for outright first place in the conference. As Sanford remains undefeated in conference play. It was a pretty big game. Even UNCG's coach actually got in trouble for grabbing his junk towards some Sanford fans.
I
Bro,
watched that game, and then I
yeah,
saw that clip on Twitter today.
the SoCon, there's always crap like that. Like, I think pound for pound, it's one of the best mid-major leagues because like there's always trash talk. Especially, I've been a veteran of SoCon Twitter. Like, it gets crazy. There's always drama surrounding the coaches and stuff.
Yeah, we
That
can
is.
bounce through
Mhm,
a couple more here too. Late night Big 12, we had two matchups.
mhm.
Baylor won in overtime at Arizona State. They really fell apart down the stretch, and Arizona State was able. It was so crazy.
Mhm.
I mean, they just like walked like it was 4 or 5 seconds left, and well, I mean, Baylor just let Arizona State just walk down the floor and send that game to overtime, tie it at 66, and or 62, whatever the fuck it was, something like that. Send it to overtime, and yeah, but Baylor played a great overtime. Arizona State couldn't score, and Baylor got it done, covered right at the end of the game too. It was 5.5, and they scored right at the end of the game to go up by 6. So big time win there for Baylor. You got anything on that one?
Not really. I I wasn't. Let me look up. Can pull up the stats, but Big 12. I was just going to talk about some of the ranked games. I don't know if there's anything crazy. Was that one of the ones that there's a buzzer beater on Baylor and Arizona State?
I don't think there was a
Yeah.
buzzer beater now.
Okay. I don't think there was a buzzer beater.
Arizona State hit a shot like right at the end of
Mhm.
regulation to send it to overtime, but I think there's still a second left or something.
I can. I'm just going to go rapid fire through the rest of the top 25 games we haven't covered yet.
All
Houston
right.
destroyed Kansas State. Houston continues to be a great team. Gonzaga pulls one out over Washington State. Washington State now in the West Coast Conference since the Pac-12 collapsed. Well, for at least for this year. Memphis ekes out against Eastern Carolina, probably one of the more surprising games of the day. Memphis, they, I mean, they're just going to have to roll over the American this year if they want to get seated highly. Ole Miss beats LSU, and I think that's the rest of the ranked games for today. I don't know if there's anything else you want to discuss from Saturday.
Yeah, two more. Another late night. Arizona took down UCF. Arizona, after a bad non-conference, people were wondering what's up with Tommy Lloyd's team. Were they going to be a factor this year? They now sit at 4-0 in the Big 12, and were able to get it done against UCF. So, yeah, obviously UCF not a great team, but 88-80 was scoring that one. UCLA or UCLA. It's late. Arizona comes out on top against UCF. Caleb Love had a good game, put up 16. Um, yeah, and then last one, mid-major game. Well, always fun to highlight some mid-major games. Big one in the West Coast Conference. UC Irvine took down UC San Diego on the road, 60-52. Or I said West Coast Conference. Like I said, it's late.
Big West.
Give us a break. Big West, not West Coast Conference. Yeah, big win in that league. That was a battle of two unbeaten teams in that league. Big rivalry there in that league, and UC Irvine was able to pull it out. UC Irvine's a damn good team. They have great computer numbers. They're rated pretty highly in KenPom right now for what you would expect out of the Big West. Yeah, two very good teams there out of the Big West, and I'm sure they'll meet again. I don't know when they play again this season, and I'm sure they'll see each other in the conference tournament there because they're head and shoulders the two best teams in that league. But big one to highlight there for UC Irvine to go on the road and get a win there. Like I said, they're a damn good mid-major team. When you're looking for your mid-major teams to pick an upset for, and in March, if UC Irvine gets in there and they get a good matchup, that they're going to be a team to keep an eye on. They'll be a solid 13/4, 12/5 pick, I'd say.
Yeah, UC. I just looked it up. UC San Diego is eligible for the first time this year to go to the NCAA tournament.
Okay, so, I thought it was up.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was still they were still in their transition period or not.
But yeah,
so that'll be a
Ben
matchup out there.
I'm definitely gonna botch his name. I was watching the game, but I didn't have the sound on it. But Ben Lupton had put up 23 points in that one. So yeah, damn good team UC Irvine has. So shout out to them. Shout out to the Big West. Yeah, you got anything else? I know there were a couple games in the Big Ten today. I'm sure. Yeah. I'll let you talk Big Ten and talk Purdue and take us home if you want. But big win for Purdue today, and Michigan also got a big win, and Oregon. I didn't watch that game today, but Oregon got a 1-point win.
That was probably the best game of the day.
Yeah, no doubt. And also West Virginia got a win at Colorado in the Big 12. So that's the results of note for Sunday. But I'm sure you want to talk a little bit of Boilermakers, so I'll give you the floor there.
Yeah, Purdue just absolutely dominated Nebraska today. Just steamrolled Nebraska. Didn't even let them be close, which has happened in the past, especially on the road in Nebraska. This year, Purdue, they had kind of a rough. They had a great start in November. December, we kind of were up and down. I was disappointed in how we played against Texas A&M and Auburn. Just especially just too many turnovers. But to start Big Ten play, at least here in January, we've been crushing teams, taking care of business against teams that try to give us games. Usually, those teams that are towards the bottom, you go on the road and they give you a game. But we're steamrolling so far going into the home trip. Today, it just wasn't even a game at any point. CJ Cox had a career game. He's going to be good. He had 23 points. It was 5 of 7 from 3. He is the next generation of Carson Edwards for Purdue. He's going to be good, man. He's only a freshman. Fletcher Lawyer was on fire. Smith didn't have the best offensive game, but he had 14 assists, his best shooting game. So he was all over the place. There's some absolute highlight dunks from Miles Colvin and Cam Heide. Two of them, reverse dunks, lobs. You can look them up. They were absolutely crazy. Miles Colvin actually got a technical foul for doing spiderweb shooters because he looks like Miles Morales from he actually got teed up, and he wasn't even doing it. He was doing it like the Purdue bench, and the ref saw him, and he got teed up. But at the end of the game, the walk-ons even got in. Jace Rail scored. Brian Waddell hit a 3 to make us go above 100. It was just an absolute blowout. There is a Nebraska fan in our Discord. He said he gave me props. He was like, "Yeah, that we weren't in that game ever at any point." So
Nebraska is, as long as they're playing at home, they're good. You put them on the road.
Yeah, they don't have Kasey Tominga this year either. I was impressed by our defense too. We held Bryce Williams to 9 points, and all 5 of those were free throws in garbage time. Held them 2 for 8. Their leading scorer was one of their bench players who just shooting threes, and Connor Segan, and the Wisconsin transfer from Fort Wayne, Indiana. He did put up most of those points in garbage time anyway. Purdue hit 19 for 33 from 3 today, which was 2 short of the Big Ten record for threes in a game. Just the absolute domination. But yeah, after that game, we go on the road out west. I know they do that with the new West Coast Big Ten teams. Just sort of have the trips planned out to save money. We go on the road to Washington on Wednesday, and then on the road to Oregon next Saturday. Is there anything you want to comment on that game?
Not on that game. I didn't get to see it.
Okay.
But yeah, there was one more Big Ten game on Saturday I wanted to get to before we wrap it up too. Not even really the game, but Iowa 85, Indiana 60. Mike Woodson is cooked. His transfer portal guys aren't good. Outside of Rice, he's pretty good, but the rest, when I saw they signed Omar Ballo, I knew they were in trouble this year because they fumbled the bag hard, not Dusty when they had the chance.
I don't know why they signed Omar Ballo, to be completely honest, because he was at Arizona last year, and when Purdue played him, I know Edey just dominated a lot of centers, but he was Omar Ballo was huffing and puffing up and down the court, in the first half against Zach Edey. At the end of the first half, he was clear he was not ready to be on a court with an NBA center. So I think Indiana's going, and not to mention they got blown out by Nebraska 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, Woodson's done for there. Dunzo.
Mm-hmm. They did have Malik Renew out, but still, you've got to play better than that, especially against Iowa, a team that doesn't even defend really all that much. Going back to our Sunday games, Oregon pulled out a close one against Penn State with no Ace Baldwin. Penn State's been a great team. They honestly should be in the tournament. I think they deserve a tournament spot more than Nebraska at this point. I know they've had a couple rough losses here, but they, top to bottom, Mike Rhodes has put together a good team. Oregon, they are a good team. I think their record's a little bit deceiving. They have a lot of good pieces, but I don't think
there's no top tier talent on that team, but they're very well coached.
Yeah. As always with Dana Altman.
But I mean, they go across the country on the road and get a win in conference.
Yeah. That helps them in their race. I think there is a clear top 4 in the Big Ten, which would be Michigan State, Michigan, Purdue, and Illinois, and just kind of the rest. Oregon may be the 5th team, but we have yet to see that. We'll see next Saturday when Purdue plays Oregon on the road. We'll see how that game goes, but that was probably the closest game of the weekend. I didn't watch much of it. Michigan State, they got up by Michigan State's might be the best team in the Big Ten. I don't know yet. We'll see. It's sort of still the feeling out phase. They're just sort of a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. I think there's a 4-team race at the top, like I said previously. They beat Northwestern on the road. Northwestern's meh this year. No Boo Booey. They have Nico, a couple good players in Nick Martinelli and Brooks Barnheiser. Barnheiser had a stinker today. Michigan State's just your typical Michigan State team, physical and grimy ball, where they just win, find ways to win. Michigan has been the surprise of the year so far in the Big Ten. Of course, Dusty May's done an excellent job.
I'm not surprised.
But yeah, I mean they just year one. Vlad Golden's been killing it. I'm not sure if he would be up there, and he may be a first team Big Ten talent so far. Him, Danny Wolf, Dusty May did a good job putting together a team. His first year, so they'll be a contender. Washington, I don't think they're the worst team they may be the worst team in the Big Ten this year. They have that great Osabor. He's probably their only good player, keeping them from not being towards the bottom. I think they're worse than Minnesota and Rutgers at this point. I think both those teams have more redeeming qualities, but we'll see down the stretch.
Yeah, we'll find a time to talk about Rutgers when we have more time. I got a lot to say about them, so I'm sure we'll do another one of these and have plenty to say about them. But yeah, I mean that's seems like about it for Sunday. So yeah, we can go ahead and wrap this up. I'm just gonna bang a couple games out, like read them off real quick. Just games. Let me pull it up on my phone. That's easier. But just games to keep an eye on this weekend. Like I said, as of now, the plan's gonna be we're gonna try to shoot for Friday afternoon. I'll probably be out doing something, but I think around 7:00, 6:00 Friday, I should be able to hop on and do one of these shows. But there ain't shit Monday. Tuesday, we got Mississippi State at Auburn in the SEC, Ole Miss at Alabama, and Texas A&M at Kentucky. So 3 huge games in the SEC. Marquette plays at DePaul. Your Blue Demons, by the way, currently 0-6 in the Big East. So not holding you up well there. But yeah, 3 huge games in the SEC there. We don't need to break them down or anything. It's getting late, but just highlighting games to keep an eye on. Baylor plays at Arizona Tuesday night as well. That'll be a good one. Let's see. I'm just trying to rapid fire run through games to keep an eye on this week. Kansas plays at Iowa State on Wednesday night. That's going to be a good one. Huge one in the Big 12 there. Iowa State should be jumping up to number 2 in the polls, so we'll see if they can hold tough there. Georgia plays at Tennessee. That's going to be a big one in the SEC. That's also Wednesday. Also Wednesday is West Virginia goes to Houston. That's a big one in the Big 12. Yeah, I'm just like ripping through games real quick to keep an eye on this week. Let's see. Thursday, I don't think there's shit. Let me scroll through here. Nothing of note.
I know
Thursday, I'm scrolling through. Yeah, a bunch of nothing on Thursday. And then Friday, let's see. We got Boise State goes to the Pit on Friday night to take on New Mexico. So that's going to be a big one out of the Mountain West. Yeah, I'm sure there's good games. I missed running through these, but, for the sake of time, I was just trying to rip through real quick. But other than the games I mentioned, which that SEC slate on Tuesday is incredible, do you have anything for this week you're keeping an eye on that I didn't mention?
My teams, some of my my like rooting interest. They play some big games. ETSU and the SoCon, they have a tough road stretch. They play at Furman and at Sanford this week. At Furman on Wednesday and at Sanford on Saturday. So I think those will both be good games. And I previously mentioned Purdue and Oregon. Saturday you got let's see, Iowa State, West Virginia, Ole Miss and Mississippi State. A lot of rivalry games. Tennessee and Vanderbilt. That might be a good game. Under the radar, great game.
What day?
It's at Saturday.
Oh, well, we can wait because we'll do a show Friday.
Okay.
So I was gonna wait to do Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably should have explained that. Yeah, that's why I was just doing like during the week since we're planning on coming on Friday. Then we can talk about Saturday's games on Friday.
Okay.
So I think Friday, Sunday is probably good between work schedules and everything. Like Friday, it's like we can recap during the week, preview some probably we can maybe like make some picks for Saturday games on Friday or something. We can make that like a Friday thing and then come on here Sunday and recap the weekend. And I think we should be able to cover our bases pretty good keeping that. But yeah, I was like, I just want to make sure you weren't running through Saturday because yeah, we can definitely save that for Friday's show.
Yep, that sounds good.
But yeah, I mean, during the week, as far as Monday through Friday, are there any other I didn't mention that you wanted to hit on? I think I hit all the major games this week.
I think that's all of them too.
Any parting shots, or are you ready to wrap this thing up?
I'm ready to wrap it up.
All right, it's late. We got 69 people watching. It's fucking what? Let me see, 12:30, and we got 69 people watching. Thank you if you're tuning in. Please retweet, like, subscribe, go on YouTube, all that. Please, like, help us out because we're gonna, like I said, we're really gonna try to push more of these out. I'm planning on trying to get this uploaded on like regular podcasts so people can go back and listen, like Spotify and Apple Podcasts if they want to, and we can make a thing out of that. So look for that. Yeah, like I said, 69 people watching 12:30 in the morning, watching us sit here bleary-eyed talk about college basketball. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you for coming on here and chatting it up late at night. And like I said, hopefully in the future, going forward, we should have Matt on here more. He was a little busy tonight, so he wasn't able to make it. But yeah, I'm glad we were able to do this, man. This is a good time. I've been dying to talk college basketball all year, so it's been fun, man.
I've been impressed I made it this far because I was zonked out when you called me. Like I was like, it was bad.
Hey, thank you for getting up for real because I was disappointed that we weren't gonna get to do this tonight because I had been looking forward to it.
I have two more things. Yeah, I'm no issue. I love if it tells you how passionate I am about college basketball. I'm up at it's like 1:30 my time, but I'm wired differently, so I just keep going nonstop.
Yeah.
That's how I am at work. And since I run two more things I wanted to do before we get off for the night. One thing, Indiana corn is better than Nebraska corn. That ties back into the Purdue score earlier. And follow me on Twitter at the PEF423 and follow my podcast, State of the Buccaneers. It's my ETSU podcast. Talk SoCon hoops on there too, SoCon sports in general. I'm going to have a new episode or two out here the next couple weeks. I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff there in conjunction with this. But I appreciate you all. Appreciate you, Travis. It's been good.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Definitely do what he said. Check out State of the Bucks. They do great work. And hell yeah, we'll call it a night, man. It's going to be a good week of college basketball. And yeah, hopefully this is the first of many shows we do leading into March. And then we get to the real fun stuff. But till then, we'll be back Friday. Hopefully that's the plan as of now. And War Eagle.
Boil up and go Bucks.
Hell yeah.